Hey guys, MeLikeBigBoom here, bring you guys a gameplay video of every single attachment in Unturned. Every single one of them. I mean, look at this. Look at all these attachments. I have all the tacticals, all of the barrels, and all the sight attachments, and we're going to go through every single one, and you're going to see which ones are good, which ones are not so good, where you can find them, and so by the end of this, you are going to be the encyclopedia of unturned attachments. So without further ado, I guess I'm just going to start up. Let's start with these site attachments, but where to start? I guess we'll start from the top going down to the bottom on these sites. So first up we have the 20 times zoom scope. This can only be found on the Timberwolf. It can't be found on the ground. And as the name suggests, it's a 20 times zoom scope. So super zoom on this. Very cool. Definitely very good, obviously, at killing things from very far away. As you can see, I'm able to pop all these zombies in the head. Even ones as far away from that, it's easy, not a problem. I could kill things up on that hill if I'd like. So 20 times zoom scope. Super nice. You can't find anywhere else except on a Timberwolf, and the Timberwolf itself is extremely rare. If you guys don't know what the Timberwolf is, it's a bolt-action 338 Lapua, extremely good sniper rifle. Can be found in military locations. That's where you can find this scope. You just take it off that gun and it will put it into your inventory. So next we have the holographic sight. It's kind of a boxy sight that's quite frankly obstructive in my personal opinion. Not one of my favorites. This can be found in military locations as well. You can't find it on any gun. It won't come stock on a gun. You have to find it and then attach it to a gun of your choice. And just a regular holographic sight looks like this, and relatively accurate, most of the time a lot better than the stock iron sights that would come on a gun of yours. So yep, that is the holographic sight. Moving on to the red dot sight. It's, I guess, the holographic sight's younger brother, but I personally think it's kind of an upgrade of the holographic sight. It's not as obstructive, it just has that single red dot in the middle of the screen, so there's nothing obstructing your view, and it's just got a really simplistic look to it, a circle and nothing else to worry about. So, yep, that is the red dot sight. It can be found in military locations just like the holographic sight, except this one's probably like twice as easy to find. So odds are you're going to come across 2 red dot sights for every holographic sight that you can find. Moving on, we have the 7 times zoom scope. This can be found at military locations as well, and it also comes stock on the Matamoras sniper rifle. It's kind of a funky looking scope. It's an aluminum finish on it, so it's got that light gray, and it's mounted from the side rather than straight down. This is so that from a real life perspective, it's not obstructing your view from below the scope. But in this game, you can't see under the scope, so that's not a problem. So it's a 7 times zoom, obviously not as much as a 20 times zoom scope. I think this is a pretty happy medium between something for killing things at long range, and then you're still able to use it for close range combat as well. So pretty good. I don't think it's very pretty of a scope. It doesn't look very good on your guns, but that's my personal opinion. So once again, it can be found in military locations and stock on the Matamoras sniper rifle. Moving on to the 12 times zoom scope, personally one of my favorite scopes because it's, I think, the best medium between long range combat and close range combat. It can be found in military locations. I don't believe it comes stock on any sort of weapon. And so once you find it, it gives you 12 times zoom, so you're able to kill things from that far away, and then if you'd like, you can just still be able to shoot things from close range as well if you'd like. And I also like the fact that it has an extremely specific point where your bullet will land compared to some other scopes out there where there's no point where the crosshairs will meet. You kind of just have to guess where it is. So that is the 7 times zoom scope. Moving on to the Zoom-O-Matic, basically this is just binoculars duct taped to the side of your gun. God, it looks so stupid. The only reason why you would actually use this is if you can't find a sight for your gun, I would still recommend just using the iron sights, but if you'd like, I guess you could use this. It doesn't have any crosshairs because it's binoculars on your gun. This can't be found anywhere. You have to craft it by taking binoculars and 2 duct tape and putting it in the crafting menu, and you'll get the Zoom-O-Matic. But it's stupid. It really is stupid. I mean, binoculars are kind of pointless in the first place, but I think that this is kind of a waste of 2 duct tape that you could use for something better. It doesn't have any sort of way of knowing where the center of the scope is, so really you're just blind firing. So, stupid little thing. It's just kind of a joke gag little thing just to show people, hey look, I have this binoculars duct taped to my gun. So that's the Zoom-O-Matic. That's what it looks like for other people when they look at you. Just binoculars taped on it. So, yep, that's the Zoom-O-Matic. Extremely pointless. If you have it, please burn it. Moving on to the point circle sight. Now this can be found stock on the Uzi and the compound bow, and I'm not entirely sure if you can find it around on the ground. Basically it's just a stock iron sights, and for any iron sights that you find in a gun, you can take them off and put them on a different gun. So this is what it looks like on the Swiss skewer. It should look the same on all the other guns, but it's just, this is the iron sights of the point circle sight. So pretty solid. I kind of wish that that middle indicator of where the bullet will land is a bit thinner, so that way you aren't guessing that much. But yep, that is the point circle sight. Moving on to the full circle rail. Now this is meant for a shotgun. It's found on the Nova. So when this is on the Swiss skewer, it's kind of pointless, but it is actually pretty solid if you were to put it on a shotgun, like a double barrel or a lever action. So it doesn't have a center crosshair, but it's pretty good for putting it on a shotgun because it'll give you the idea of what the bullet spread is. So I guess it's a bad demonstration to do this on an assault rifle, but that's what it looks like if you were to put it on a shotgun. Not half bad. It does have a modern look, so it won't exactly fit with a gun like a lever action that looks like it's from the 1800s, but it is an upgrade from the sights that are on the lever action. Moving on, we have the dual component rail. Personally, I think this rail looks perfect on any gun that you were to put it on. It looks good, and even if you were put it on a shotgun or the Swiss skewer or sometimes even on a pistol or something, it'll always just look good. I don't know why, but it just does. So this is what it looks like. It's definitely my favorite iron sights of all time because it does have a super thin little point where the bullet will land, so you aren't left guessing. So if you don't want any kind of zoom that you would get from a scope, this is definitely the best option for you. It's the point circle sight. You can't find it on the ground anywhere. It comes stock on a maple strike, and then you can take it off that and put it on whatever you like. So this is on a Swiss skewer, and that is what it looks like. Pretty solid. I like it. And moving on to the planar track rail. This is really bad. This is found stock on the AK-47 or the Zubeknikov. Not very good at all. It's pretty obstructive. It does have a thin crosshair, and that's pretty much the only advantage that this thing has. It's pretty obstructive once again. And so I think if you were to find a Zubeknikov, the first thing that you should do is find a sight for it that looks better and then get rid of the sight that comes stock on it. But this is what it looks like in case you guys were wondering. Moving on, we have the open circle rail. This is the sight that comes stock on this Swiss skewer, and then you can take it off and put it on any other kinds of guns. This, once again, does have a thick center crosshair, so you are left guessing when you're trying to shoot at long ranges. Once again, a sight that's worth upgrading once you find the Swiss skewer. So that is the open circle rail. Moving on to the last but not least dual point rail. Now this comes stock on the outfield. It has an aluminum finish that I personally think only really fits on the outfield. It doesn't really fit on this Swiss skewer. It's not half bad. It's just kind of funny looking. I don't know why. I think it's just the big size of the front part of the sight and then the small part of the end of the sight. It just kind of looks funny. I mean, it works good as a sight. It's not really obstructive. It allows you to shoot things at long range, but not a big fan of that sight. It can only be found on the outfield, no other gun, and once again you can take it off and put it on whatever you'd like. And with the conclusion of that does conclude all of the sights. When I was going through this, I did realize that I'm missing the 6x zoom scope, but I will put a picture on the screen right now showing what it looks like when you look through the scope. I believe you can't find it on any sort of gun stock. You have to find it on the ground. I don't really like it because it doesn't have a center crosshair, so you're kind of left guessing where you're shooting. And the 6x zoom scope can be found in military locations, and that should conclude the 6x zoom scope. And then with that, we have all of the sights in Unturned. So that's what they all look like. Comment down below which one's your favorite, and once you do that, we are going to move on to the tactical attachments. But first, I'm going to eat a military rations first, so that way I don't die. Now on to the tactical attachments. First, I'm going to pick my favorite scope. These 7x. Nope, not that one. 12x. Alright, so moving on to the tactical attachments. So the first thing that we have is the vertical grip, and the vertical grip reduces vertical recoil of your gun. So as you can see, I'm going to shoot a shot here, and my gun's recoil peaked out at the top of this barn. As you can see, I'll play it back in slow motion. And now I'm going to take off that vertical grip and shoot again. And as you can see, the recoil peaked out at the top of this gray part here. So it does reduce vertical recoil by a considerable amount. Definitely worth putting on there if it's a rapid fire gun like an Uzi or a PDW where you're shooting rapidly. But on a semi-automatic weapon where you're controlling your shots, it's not entirely necessary, so not one of my favorites. The tactical laser is a tactical attachment that basically just puts a red dot wherever your bullet is going to land. So that way you don't have to kind of guess between those three crosshairs. You can just look at that dot and you will know where your bullet will land. So I'm not going to shoot at my house. I'm actually just going to shoot here. So as you can see, the bullet lands on that dot. It just helps for hip firing. It doesn't actually reduce the hip fire spread or anything. It just kind of gives you an idea of where your bullet's going to land. So not half bad. This can be found in military locations. It's actually really rare to find. So it will take quite a bit of disconnecting and reconnecting to find it. But it does exist. Moving on to the angled grip. Now this reduces side-to-side recoil. Now the Swiss skewer doesn't have much side-to-side recoil, so I guess I can't really show that. But trust me, it does. I guess for guns like an Uzi or PDW, when you're shooting continuously, this would probably be the better option for it compared to a Swiss skewer. But yep, that is the angled grip. It can be found in military locations as well. Relatively rare. It will take quite a while to find it. And it does fit kind of well with the Swiss skewer because it does follow the same color scheme as you can see here. Moving on, we have the bipod. Now this is a tactical attachment that its specific purpose is to extremely reduce recoil only when you're prone. So as you can see, I'm going to shoot right here, and the recoil goes up to about halfway up this red part, but then when I go prone and shoot at the same spot, there's like no recoil at all. So very good to put on a big sniper like a Timberwolf or a Matamoros, so you can just lie down on top of a hill and start sniping people. So definitely a very good attachment to put on your snipers. I think if you found a sniper and plan on using it on PvP servers, a bipod is a must-have attachment because it dramatically reduces recoil. The bipod can be found in military locations. It's pretty rare. I've found quite a few. Odds are you've probably already found one. But yep, that is the bipod. Now moving on to the bayonet. Now this is an extremely rare attachment to find. I found two of them. In both of those occasions, I found them in the docked ship in Alberton. Like I found it in the captain's quarters or whatever you call that, the control room. Basically, it's a bayonet. If you press F, it will jab the gun forward and it will work as a melee weapon. So that way, if you run out of ammo, you can still use your gun as a melee weapon. So in that way, you don't always have to carry around a gun and a sledgehammer. I think it's extremely useful. This is definitely up there with one of the best tactical attachments that you can have because it reduces a lot of weight. Sledgehammers and chainsaws and stuff like that take up a lot of weight for your inventory, and just to have your gun be your and for the bayonet to just turn your gun into an all-in-one killing machine, you can't really ask more than that. It can kill things from far away, it can kill things from medium range, close range, and then melee combat. For it to all do that all in one slot and all at one weight. That's something that is definitely worth keeping on your gun. So that is the bayonet. It's very hard to find. I never knew it existed when I found it, and then I looked it up on the wiki, and it said that it was extremely rare, and I was like, holy cow. And then a few weeks later I found another one, and I was like, holy cow. So pretty cool. That's the bayonet. I think it definitely takes the #1 spot in the tactical attachment category. But then in the last slot we have the tactical light. Basically, it's a light that's duct taped to the bottom of your gun. You can press F to toggle it on and off, just like the laser sight. And also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can press F to jab with the bayonet from the previous thing. But so if you're like seeing a sniper up on the hill, you can press F to turn off your tactical lights, and that way he doesn't see you. But when you're at nighttime on single player, you can use it if you don't have any night vision goggles. Oh, that's a lighting glitch. But anyway, I don't think it's entirely useful, because odds are if you have a tactical attachment and a good gun and stuff like that, you've already found some sort of night vision goggles, so you don't really need it. Also, I believe you can craft the tactical light attachment with a regular torch and some duct tape, but I'm not entirely sure. I will put the crafting recipe on the screen right now, and so you can make yourself a tac light if you'd like. But with that, we have concluded the tactical attachment section, and moving on to the smallest section of all, the barrel attachment section. So first up, I guess I'll start with the flash hider. Basically, it hides flash. It can be found in military locations. It can't be found stock on a gun. But once you find it, you can put it on the barrel of your gun, and it will reduce muzzle flash. So if I were to shoot with it not on, it looks like this. As you can see, it's lighting up the environment around me, and it also has a big muzzle flare on the front of my gun. But then if I were to put it on, whoa, zombies attacking me. It completely gets rid of that. So very useful for if you're playing on a PvP server. Anyway, that's the flash hider. But then at the same time, it still is loud. And if you'd like to reduce the noise of your gun, it will still make a muzzle flare, but it will reduce the noise. So there are two different kinds of ways that you can reduce the sound of your gun. One is the muffler. It's not as good as the suppressor because it's homemade. It's made out of 2 cans and 2 canned colas, and then putting it into the campfire as a fire tool. So if you were to go into crafting, you just click this fire tool and then put 2 cans here and 2 canned colas. You will get a muffler. Now it works about 75% of what the suppressor can do. So as you can see here, I'm going to shoot, and it makes the suppressed sound. And then if you were to shoot the suppressor, it's a bit better. I think they're both about the same. So if you're having trouble finding a suppressor, you can just craft one by making this muffler. But it's quite frankly ugly on the front of your gun. If you're going with like a ghetto approach, then you could do the muffler and then a zoom-o-matic, and then your gun would just look super retarded. But if you're wanting to have an official look of your player, then you can put a suppressor and then a good scope on it, and then you'll look pretty legit. So once again, I'm going to shoot the suppressor and the muffler at the same time to show you what the sound difference is. So really the only difference is that the muffler kind of has a rattle at the end of the noise, and then the suppressor is just a super flat, dull, suppressed sound. Now the suppressor has to be found. It's in military locations, and it doesn't come automatically on a gun. The Matamores does come with a suppressor built into it. You can't take it off, but as a result there is no barrel attachment that you can put on the Matamores. So the Matamores does come automatically suppressed, so you can't take it off. But if you'd like to suppress any sort of other weapon, you'd have to put on the suppressor attachment, which can be found in military locations. It is relatively rare to find a suppressor, and if you're having trouble finding it, then you can just craft this muffler, and it should do you good until you can find one. Now, with the conclusion of the suppressor and the muffler, we have concluded all of the attachments in the game. You have seen all of them. I'm surprised you've made it all the way through this video, that is if you watched all of it, but hopefully now you know everything about the attachments. I just want to say thank you for watching, and thank you for almost 10,000 subscribers. 10,000 people, you guys. That's crazy. I'm going to say it right now. There's going to be something extremely special which will come at 10,000 subscribers, but you guys gotta wait. So thank you guys so much for that. Thank you guys for watching. That is all I have for now. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and do all that gibberish, because MeLikeBigBoom is out.